Hello and welcome back to the Let's Talk Horse Business podcast. Today you're here with me, George Bettson, equestrian business strategist and founder of Frontier Transport. And today we're going to be diving deep. We're going to be diving deep into the REINS formula once more. And today we're talking about the fourth part of the process, and that is N, nurturing. We've covered reframing, shifting your mindset. We've covered engaging, finding your ideal clients and how to engage with them better and more effectively. And we've covered innovating. How are we changing and adapting our services so that we can continue to thrive in an ever-changing environment? And then that brings us on to today, which is nurture. And it's often the overlooked part of many businesses. It's a strategy that can bring you short-term goals, short-term wins, but achieve a much longer-term outlook. So what I'm saying is it can bring you the short-term bookings, but that could guarantee you a long-term income. This is where reputation, referrals, and retention are built within your business. So let's get into it. So what is nurture? What does that really mean? Well, there's several avenues of nurture, and today we're going to focus on one particular avenue because time is limited and I could go on about this all day for you. The one we're going to talk about is building strong relationships with your clients. And that's nurturing. You're nurturing them just like you might nurture a baby foal or, nurture a family member because they need a little bit of support. And by nurturing, you are actively and consistently building the relationship with your clients. And guess what that's going to do? They're going to come back, they're going to recommend you, and you're going to build a long-term sustainable business. So it's all about how you turn one client, one livery, one lead into many. But it's doing it in a very clever way that people entirely overlook. It can come down to things like what happens before the invoice is paid, the onboarding calls, the first point of contact, the impression you're leaving, all the way through to what's happening once the invoice is paid. And this is really key. This is something nobody seems to be doing. Once your invoice is paid, are you having a check-in with that client every few weeks or months? Are you continuing to build that relationship ongoing? Are you dropping them, if you're a horse transporter, are you dropping them a message a week after they've dropped their horse into the hospital, just wishing them well and checking everything's okay? And if they're not, being an ear for the person that needs it most. It's all about how you're staying in touch, how you're taking the feedback from your clients and implementing that further to further enhance their experience with you. And it's how you show appreciation to them too. Nurturing is essentially the invisible string, is a great way to put it, the invisible string between you and your clients. As soon as that string is broken, the clients don't feel necessarily heard, there's space for a competitor to fill your gap. So that's what nurturing is. It's finding a way to consistently build a rapport with your clients because, I'm sure you're aware of this, but the very best leads into your business are the ones that come from referrals, aren't they? Every single person or client that you've had that's referred somebody, is that, or could it not be, the best part of your business? It's saving you on ad spend. It's saving you on time organically marketing. It's saving you the constant repeated cost of acquisition of inquiring each of your clients. And just by doing a really simple nurture process. Now, what nurturing also is about your relationships also with your teams, your staff members, your acquaintances as part of your business. That's another whole big section in itself. And so today we're not going to dive into that. But I want you to be aware of it and think about it. How are you looking after not only your clients, but your teams? I've mentioned this many times on many episodes, often with guests actually, And so it is something I will cover at some point. But today we're going to stick to our clients because we're here to make money and find a way to make more. So I started to touch on it already, but why is nurturing actually important? Why does it matter to you? You know, if you can go out there and get a new client every week, why do you need to nurture them? Well, I think it speaks for itself, and I have mentioned it already. Retention is way cheaper, way more powerful, and way more consistent for a long-term visioned business than looking consistently for more clients. If you can take on one client and that gives you 5 more over the course of a year, I can guarantee you those 5 more and that original client who you've nurtured is going to be worth a hell of a lot more to you as a business. You've not had to spend on ads. You've built a relationship, you've built a community, and again, and it all stacks up onto itself, essentially. Because what you've done there is you've already done the hard work to attain the first client. You've already done that initial conversation. You've had the great first impression. You've proven yourself. And so why wouldn't they again and again and again recommend you to others? And why wouldn't those others come back to you again and again and again? Because of the rapport and the relationships you continue to build. Cutting your costs for acquisition, building a long-term business. I mean, it's win, win, win. So let's go through some of the benefits of nurturing, just really list them off for you. So repeat business. They're going to keep coming back. They like you. They get on with you. They like what you have to offer. So you're having a constant income of happy clients. Then we've got word of mouth marketing. These people are going to talk to many other people. And they're going to keep spreading it, and you're going to have happy clients being referred to you. And because they're in that circle, they're going to enjoy your service, no doubt, and they're going to build more and more. And suddenly, you've gone from 1 person to 2 to 4, and you start duplicating to 4 to 8, 8 to 16, 16 to 32. And the compound effect compared to ad marketing, where you're spending 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds a day, a week, a month, and you're getting a new client. That client comes, they go. Another £10 is spent. Another client comes in. That client comes, they go. Another £10 is spent. So for every client you're getting, you're having to spend to get them again and again and again when you could actually refocus and keep them coming back. That's what this is all about. It helps you to build a strong community. By having clients come back regularly and by having the duplication effect, you're building a community, whether you realize it or not. And that community, again, is your longevity, is your place of being, your self-worth and yourself. You know, it doesn't just appeal to your bank account. It actually appeals to your wealth, your health, your mindset, and everything else in between. Higher client lifetime value. Now, suddenly we've gone from a client which, you know, if you've got a £50 lesson, it's costing you £10 in ads to acquire them. That's £40. That client never comes back. So that client's worth £40 to you. That client could come in by ads, £10, and you get a profit there of £40. But now you've given them a one-to-one service. You've checked in on them a week later to ask how their progress is. You've joined them as part of a community. Now that client, what are they going to be worth a year? If they come back once a week, or once every 10 days, or once every 100 days, that client is not worth £40 to you anymore. They're worth 300, 400, 500,000, several thousand. And that is where we want to get to, because that is a sustainable long-term business. And there's so much less stress for you. Not only are you surrounded by people you want to be surrounded by, they're coming back, they're recommending you, you feel great. There's less stress because there's less complaints, people who come in who don't actually like what you offer. There's no awkward exits or problems when people don't come back. I mean, the more I'm talking about it, the more it's an absolute no-brainer. Why are people not doing more of this? And I'm sure there are many people doing it, but it's not done particularly well, it seems to me so far. So there's some of the benefits of nurturing. Now, what can you be doing to achieve those benefits? It could feature things like personal check-ins. Not just an invoice, personal check-ins. Talk to them. Have a dialogue. Sending thank you messages, maybe little client gifts, or do you know what? There's a great thing out there where many companies have sponsors or they market other businesses on the side. And they do that with little referral codes or something like that. Now, it's not going to cost you anything to go out there and find a sponsor or somebody who you like, ask them for a referral code and give it to your clients. And that might give them 10% off, 15% off, 20% off. You haven't cost you a penny, but you've given them a whole lot of value. And that adds massively into the nurturing sequence. You can also offer educational or helpful follow-ups and tips depending on who you are and what business you're running. And then produce maybe community sites, whether that be WhatsApp groups, newsletters, client-only events. Whatever is specific for you, you can do it. And maybe people say, oh, well, I don't know, I'm a saddle fitter. Why on earth would I have a WhatsApp community? Okay. How many inquiries do you get? But they don't just say, I would like to buy a new saddle. They say, oh, well, I think that my horse is slightly to the right, and I think that it's doing this to my seat, and the seat's tilting back forward, and I don't really know what you think back forward. I don't really know what to do with it. Okay. Well, actually, I'm happy to answer your question now. But what might be really helpful for you is to join my community of equestrian people who I have serviced and are my clients. And in there, you can ask your questions. So when I'm not available, how about you pop it in there and other people can give you their helps and tips. And then when I get a spare moment in my day and I'm not fitting saddles, I go in there and I do voice notes or messages back to all of my clients to help them with their saddles. But also, if it means they need an appointment, we can book an appointment. Do you now realize not only have you got a community, which you could ask them to pay for, but let's say they don't. You've got a community, you know exactly their pain points, you know exactly who's got the pain points, and it gives you the absolute opportunity to find the solution, book in appointments, sell more saddles, and make more appointments, whether you charge, I don't know whether you charge every time you go out or how your services work. But just think about that. It's a teeny weeny fraction more work with the messages, but I'm sure most of us are on our phones anyway. But you're going to constantly be getting constant feedback, which you can use to nurture your clients further. I love that one. People don't leave great businesses. They leave when they feel unvalued or unseen. Let me just say that again. People do not leave great businesses. They leave when they feel unseen or unvalued. Now, think about that. How many clients are you turning over at the moment? If you're listening to this episode, there's a very good chance that you too have horses. You must be, or are quite likely to be, in the equestrian space. Well, I wanted to make you aware, if you don't know already, that I am the director of Fonchor Equine Transport. We are a national horse transport business offering the very best vehicles, the safest and the cleanest spaces for your horses to travel in. So whether it's a trip to the show, trip to the vets, or perhaps you've bought a new horse, we have got the service that you need. And not only that, I now offer consultancy. If you're an equestrian transport business or an equestrian business looking to get started in any area, well, you should get in touch, because alongside this podcast and the network of people that I am building here, I also want to help you. So find the link in the bio, in the show notes, and let's connect. Okay, how do you nurture equestrian clients? And I think much of what I have said actually leads into this quite easily. But I'm going to give you a few ideas that we've come up with here. It's ideas that I've implemented and I'm testing. It's ideas that I've heard from other guests that I want to bring up again. So, number one, the first impression lasts. The first way that you come across to your client lasts. So this is the single most important part of any interaction. So you need to onboard your clients like an absolute machine. You need to go in there dressed to suit your business. You need to go in there with a nice, warm, welcoming message, clear, clarity, who you are, what you do, this is me. Some of these ways can be done through impersonal interactions. It can be a welcome message or a pack. In some instances, you could set out clear well, you should then set out clear expectations and your boundaries. But obviously, you don't say these are my boundaries, but you set it very clearly who you are and what you do. That's also adding you as your authority in your space, and it's also giving them very clear understanding, so there's no chance of miscommunication or issues down the line. You give them your contact information, and you do a quick check-in a few days later after you've onboarded the client. So whatever that client is, whether they've yet to use your service, if they've come into your business, they're asking you questions, they're interacting with you, or they've bought from you, you need to have a very clear way that works for your business that brings them on board, and you need to nurture that again. It's not a case of, yes, come and be a livery, turn up, there's your stable. It's a case of, yes, why don't you pop over and have a look at my livery yard? You take them through a fantastic tour. It's all very professional. You're dressed to suit. You gel you start to learn each other's spaces. You then say, fantastic, here's some more details, here's my contact details if you need to get hold of me. They leave, you haven't heard anything. You don't ignore them. You drop them a message. You say, hey, I just wanted to check in. It was great to meet you the other day. I'd love to have you on board. Just wanted to see how you were getting on with making your decisions. Easy. That's the first step, and that's so easy. Anyone can do that. Now you need to stay consistently visible. So this, again, it does vary business to business, but let's try and keep it in this example. They've come, they haven't responded to you, unfortunately, but you've got all their details now. So what are you going to do with them? Well, what you could do is you don't just drop them the invoice for the first bill. You don't just, say, oh, well, haven't heard from you, better luck next time. Or you certainly don't say, oh, I filled the space now, sorry, you're on a waiting list. But do you? Could you do that? Maybe you could, because then that waiting list could actually continually interact with the client, whether it be monthly newsletters, SMS updates, whether it be just a monthly check-in and just say hello from such and such farm. I know we met last month and we just wanted to touch base and check how you're getting on at your new place, and just to let you know we're always here if we can assist you. But also, how are things going? It's really, really important to remember that people don't actually remember what you say. They remember how you make them feel. So when you think about how you're going to implement this, you should always put that in the forefront. How are they feeling? What are you doing to make them feel something positive? All right. So that's number 2. Staying consistent and visible. So quite a few points in there for you to consider. I hope you're writing some of these down because there is many of them. And number 3 about how you can personalize your service. And how is it different? And how are they going to connect to it? Because everyone, depending on what discipline they are in this space, or who they are, or where they're from, are going to connect with a different type of message. Use names. Create milestones. And send a quick, thank you message after a tricky vet visit, for example. Or, thank you for visiting. Thank you for coming. Thank you for inquiring. We really value you. This is step 3 after you've done the other 2. You've been consistently visible, and now you're going to finish the tone by just keeping it personal and keeping it checked in. And then finally, how else can you do the nurturing sequencing? Well, let's think about loyalties. You've got these clients on board now. You've built a great community, but how are we going to keep them incentivized, keep them happy, keep them with lots of value? And that is where I've spoken in the previous episodes, especially around the innovation side of it, about how we can layer a loyalty level in your business. So can we create a referral scheme where people are referring you and they're benefiting in some way, financially, gifts, benefits, perks? Are you offering client-only bonuses? So if they're a client and you've got a bonus, which if they achieve X, Y, and Z, they get a client-only bonus. Or perhaps you're hosting regular thank you events. Or you do a once-a-year barbecue, all on you, if it's a livery, for example, and it's just like, guys, this is incredible. Thank you so much for being here. This year's been incredible. I know we've had our ups and downs, so and so and so and so, but we're here, we're supporting each other, and what an incredible journey it's been. How special do your clients now feel? Can you see how everything I'm saying is all about building a relationship and nurturing? It's absolutely so powerful. And people will forget, like I said already, people will forget what you said, but they absolutely will never forget how you make them feel. And that is why when somebody makes a first contact with someone and they don't feel right, they're gone instantly. You've lost them. Regardless of what you say, you can convince them till the cows come home through verbal communication. But if you don't make them feel that way, they're gone. Now, this is a really important step for everybody to be taking, because really, if you don't do this, you're going to continue to spend or have to work extremely hard to find new clients. If you did this, you would be able to stop worrying about where your clients are coming from, because you're naturally building a great ecosystem for yourself. If you did this, you would have a yard or a business that people liked, talked about, and were proud of. And again, that doesn't just help your bank account, that helps you in so many ways. And lastly, on this part, is all that ever growing question in this space of how can we increase our prices? Well, what if you don't do this? Your prices are stuck to what they want to pay. But if you were to do this, you'd be able to increase your prices with much less resistance, because people pay more when they feel valued, they feel it's a great service, and they feel they're getting what they want out of it. So suddenly these price battles we have are much less and no more. This equestrian world is built entirely on trust, and trust is built through nurturing. And that is why I probably said that all the steps are really important, but at this stage in your then growth, it's absolutely paramount. You've reframed your mindset. You've done the hard work on yourself. You've engaged with your clients. You now know where to find them and you know how to acquire them. You've innovated and created some great products, services, and other offerings which have massively impacted your income. And now you've got these great people and you're going to nurture them and make sure that the value created in the innovation space, the value created when you engage with these clients, stays in your business and creates you a client lifetime value of many, 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 many thousands. Trust is built through nurture. Nurture builds loyalty. But interestingly, it's not flashy. It's not loud. People don't think about it, and that's exactly why. But I guarantee you, it's absolutely the glue that will hold it all together for you and create you the longevity in your business that you're so here to desire and grow and wish for, as we all do in this space at building equestrian businesses. So my suggestion to you is you get started right now. You go out there and you create some feedback forms. You go out there and schedule check-ins with your clients. Or if you have got clients that you haven't spoken to for a while, you absolutely go and drop them a little voice note and just say, hey, I hope you're having an amazing day. You know where I am if you need me. Value stacking up. Bam, bam, bam. Incredible. So this is the REINS step in the REINS step formula that increases impact and creates client champions. And champions for you, but champions of themselves. Because when you feel great and they feel great, the whole world is absolutely ecstatic. So go out there, nurture your clients, because if you're not nurturing your clients, someone else will. And thank you ever so much for riding along with me on the Let's Talk Course Business podcast. I've been George Betson, and we've covered the nurturing section of my REINS system. And in the next episode, or maybe not the next one, I'm yet to decide, we'll be looking at the scale, the final step of the REINS system. How do you do all of this, implement it all, and now scale it to create the lifestyle, the time freedom, the money expansion that you so desire. So please do join me again for that next episode. But until then, please go out there, nurture people, believe in yourself, believe in them, grow the most incredible business. Thank you ever so much. I've been George Betson, and I'll speak to you on the next episode.